We're live.
All right. Hi, Eric. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Another Friday is upon us. I can't believe this week has jetted by like it has. Here we are again for another afternoon of Shabbat. Anything goes.
Hooray. We were just talking about how maybe we should work on our, applause tracks and laugh tracks. Because we miss a live audience. We wish you were all actually in our studio here with us.
That's right. We were used to, for so many years of our show, we had that live audience direct feedback.
Yeah, I really miss it. As we did of Anything Goes in 2018.
Maybe we should do that. We should do a retro show.
That would be so funny.
We'll dress. You'll feather your hair, and I'll grow a mustache, or we'll do something, and we'll do Anything Goes in the 70s or everything. Yeah.
Really funny.
All these ideas. If you out there, if anybody's watching yet, if you have ideas about creative things that we could do for Anything Goes, please let us know. We're happy to oblige.
Welcome, Jay El-Hadif, our loyal viewer. Anyone else would like to say hello in the comments? We'd love to do a shout out and greet you. We're glad that everyone's here this afternoon for it's going to be a really great program as we get to know further our friends Barry and Kendra Cogert.
And we were just talking to them before we went on the air. I know they're excited to get on, and they're just they're nice and talented, and they've done so much in this community, and their music and everything that they've brought to the table has been such a treasure for Temple Israel. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know them a little better.
Absolutely. It's now mid-November, Eric, if you can believe that.
Thanksgiving is around the corner.
Yes, it is. It is going to be here before we know it. Do you have any plans yet for Thanksgiving?
So our plan for Thanksgiving right now is looking like a small family outdoor distance lunch.
Okay.
And right now that's in the works. That's the plan. And then hopefully, actually we have plans. We're going to be going camping for a couple of days.
Oh, fun.
We're taking off from lunch and gonna have the car packed up and heading, I think it's Santa Rosa Reservoir or something. It's a reservoir campsite that's supposed to be really pretty, and
right.
A couple of nights there and just nature, and it'll probably be cold, and it'll be beautiful and clear, and there'll be a lot of stars.
Sounds great. I wonder how cold it'll be, but it sounds really nice. Nice.
What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
We are going up to Oregon. We're going to drive up there and spend a couple of days in Eugene, where our daughter Joanna is in college, and then we'll be going from Eugene to Bend, Oregon. So we'll be there, the 6 of us, for a few days, including Thanksgiving.
Nice.
We will miss being with my extended family, but it seemed like it was a good opportunity for us to get away. The other kids not having school that week, and get the chance to go up and see Joanna, and we're going to bring her back home with us. That'd be nice.
That's right. So, because is Oregon basically they're going remote as of Thanksgiving?
Right. They are essentially all remote now anyway. There are some small lab classes and hands-on production classes that are in person, but for the most part, everything's been online.
And then how long is she going to be home for?
She'll be home for 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh. So, great as a parent. It's like, hey, I'm going to pay for an apartment, and then you're not going to be in it for
right.
a month and a half.
Yeah, it's kind of how it goes, I think. Well, welcome to those of you who have signed on. Welcome to Nancy and Dina and Lauren. It's great to have you here. And Daphne Leah, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Sorry if I mispronounced it, but we're so glad that everyone's here for another episode of Anything Goes.
So we had some exciting news that we formally released from the temple today. I sent out sent out the email, and hopefully people have received it and checked it out. But we have a new website. So for those of you who have had a chance to explore, you'll see it is vastly different from our. It was lovely. It was a bit antiquated, but it was a very nice website, but it was not really reflective of who we are. And I think right now our image out there with the new website really reflects who our community is and all the excitement that's going on and the people that are involved. So
yeah, it was a long time in coming, and we're just so glad that it's finally up and that our community can enjoy it. And we just encourage everyone to, really click around and see all the photos and descriptions of programs and committees and the work that we hold so dear. And if you have feedback, let us know.
Yeah, and actually, it's a really easy website for us to edit. So I know even today, because there's going to be constant feedback, and I'm sure people are going to have comments, but there was a couple of spelling errors people pointed out, or something here, something there. And I say, thank you very much. And it takes 2 seconds. And I go into the website, me and Michelle, and we can pop the change. So, we count on our community to be the editors and proofreaders that they like to be. Not that the Jewish people are critical. It's with a loving heart and a keen eye that we want that feedback. So maybe my goal is to make Sharon laugh today. For everybody out there, hopefully also that this week was a special week for Sharon. Sharon, it was Sharon's birthday.
Yay, it's my birthday yesterday. Thank you for all of the nice wishes. Yeah, we had a nice little outing up to Oak Glen on Wednesday on Veterans Day because our kids didn't have school. We did some apple picking and hiking. And then yesterday I was home mostly and, doing some work, but was able to, receive a lot of nice phone calls and text messages and Facebook messages. So it's a nice day. We had dinner with my parents in our backyard last night.
I'm sure Sharon probably has the most Facebook friends out of anybody knows. So I'm sure you were swamped with well wishes on your.
It was a hard job to like the comments, comment back with everybody.
I'm sure you responded to all of them personally as well.
I just say thank you to everyone. I tried.
So, because that's Sharon's way. Everyone out there, that Sharon has that personal touch.
Well, thank you very much.
And also this week at the temple, other than it being Sharon's birthday, which was really important, this past Sunday, we brought in Danny Ehrlich from Israel and talking about Jerusalem.
Yeah, it was a really great program. We had a lot of people who joined us online, and Danny's just a wonderful teacher and so easy to relate to. And I think people who attended the program really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, and then right after that, we had our consecration, which was actually at the temple. We posted some pictures on our Facebook page. It was really special.
Not in the temple.
Right outside the temple.
So, very important to distinguish. We're not going in the temple right now in terms of programming, but we are using our front patio space for some drive-by events and programs that we're able to do. So. What was consecration? Tell me about that. It was
really great. We had all of our kindergarten families come by, and as well as a couple of our new Torah Center families. And one at a time, each family came up in front of the front doors, and Rabbi Fox and Cantor Haas and our kindergarten teacher, Julie Hamer, and I were all there, and each said a few words and presented the children with their certificates and their little Torah. And it was really, really sweet. And even though we were all masked and at a distance from each other, it was really heartwarming to be together.
Yeah, those are nice. And I know we're looking to do more and more of those smaller programs where we can either have individual families come up or we can have small groups, particularly with our students. And we're looking at, with B'nai Mitzvah families, being able to offer those in an outdoor space so that families can be together and they can experience that. And this Sunday we have the 7th grade
Right, we have our 7th grade Cedar Ream ceremony. Traditionally, we would have all of our 7th graders come to a family service on a Friday night, and they'd come up as a group, and we'd give them all their prayer books. So we are doing something a little different this week, where each family will come up one at a time, and it'll be kind of similar to Consecration, and that we'll each be able to offer a few words to the students and present them with their Siddur. That'll be really nice.
And they really start getting busy studying for their bar mitzvah as it goes.
Yeah.
So we pushed through the pandemic, and Sharon and I participated in a meeting this week with our reopening task force, and hearing from some very qualified physicians, professionals who are helping us track where we could stand in terms of reopening, and where the country stands and the community stands. And all we can do is really encourage people that even though it may feel like Long Beach, the numbers are actually pretty low. Hospital rates are pretty low, but the rates are rising around the country. They're rising in neighboring cities. So all we can do really is really encourage people to continue their diligence. Don't get complacent. Don't fall off of what you're doing to keep yourself safe. And as long as that happens, and we can keep doing what we're doing to try to do little programs to bring our community together. But it's really going to take everybody to keep following the mask protocol, and washing hands, and keeping the distancing that's needed to be done, so that we can hopefully get past this in the months to come. So
I hope so. And we've had some other JJL programs over the past week. Rabbi Fox has had his Taste of Judaism class, and starting this week, he's teaching a class called During Troubled Times, or Finding Comfort in Troubled Times.
Seeking Comfort in Troubled Times, I believe.
Right.
So.
I think he should play the Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Again, once we have our soundtrack, we could have that in the background playing for it. So, and we'll let him know. So maybe for his class, he'll start with some background music.
Yes.
And then next Friday, we here at Shabbat Anything Goes. Sharon and I are taking the next couple of weeks off. Next week there is a pink challah bake, right?
I mean, we're not taking the weeks off ourselves.
Right. We're taking the show. Sorry, the show is taking
the next 2 weeks off. It's all good.
We're like, hey, we've done our part. Now it's time for you. You guys run the temple. No, we're taking the Friday showtime off to allow for the big challah bake, which we're doing with Sharsheret next week. Who's leading this? Are you leading that, Sharon, or is?
Well, I will definitely be involved. We're going to have a facilitator from Sharsheret on the program, and Lynn Cass, who's a temple member, is going to be sharing her survivor story, and Amy Lapellis will be kind of guiding us through some of the baking part.
Oh, wow. So yeah. Great people involved.
Yep.
And then the following week is Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving weekend. So like I said, I'm not going to broadcast from my campsite. I don't think you want that. And but the following week we'll be back, and we actually are lining up some really great guests for the weeks to come in December. So we hope you enjoy the show and stay on and keep with us, and keep the suggestions coming as well for future guests too. So.
Shout out to a few more people who have joined us, to Bill Shafton and to Joanne Levy. Thanks for joining us. We've got a good, what are we up to, about 18 or so people who are watching us, so that's great. And also I'd say to our regular watchers that feel free to spread the word. If you enjoy the show, we'd love to have more and more people watching and getting to know our congregants. And the programs are always available on our Facebook page as well. So if you miss it and you want to go back and watch it at a later time, that's another option for you.
Yep, and you can share it with friends. I know actually it seems like a lot of people have been liking and enjoying our interviews. So it makes Sharon and I feel good that we're not spinning our wheels as well. And we like doing the show. So as long as it's getting positive feedback, I'm sure we'll be happy to continue doing it. So,
someday maybe we'll have that live studio audience.
We're gonna, it's gonna happen, Sharon. It's gonna happen. We're gonna. I see it. I see it in our future.
It'll be fun, right? You can
Yeah.
see it.
So we have some great guests in our waiting room. Should we look to bring them on?
Let's bring them on. Yes. All right. Here they come. Yay, there they are.
Hello, welcome.
There are our friends, Barry and Kendra Cogert. Hi, welcome to Anything Goes.
Hi, everyone. We're glad to be here on the season finale of.
That's right. That's right. It's the fall finale.
Yeah, the fall finale. That's
Yeah.
how we feel honored.
And on some like good cliffhanger.
That's what I was gonna say.
It'll be, well, I'm just thinking like who shot Jay? Like we'll have to end in some way where it's like all of a sudden the screen will go black and we'll play Journey's music and wonder what happens until we come back. Sorry, bizarre references. Well, welcome. Barry and Kendra are here with us, and I'm going to give you guys a sort of formal introduction for everybody out there who may not know who you are, and then we'll start talking. Okay. So, Barry Cogert grew up in Northridge and Huntington Beach, and Kendra comes from Los Gatos, which is a small town on the outskirts of what we now call Silicon Valley. They met in 1983 while studying music at Cal State Long Beach, and they both studied classical and jazz, but it was in their jazz performance classes that they first met. While at Cal State Long Beach, they had the extraordinary opportunity to travel to Europe and perform at the Montreux Jazz Festival and the North Sea Jazz Festival. And it was while on this tour in 1984 that they began dating, soon fell in love, and they were married in 1988.
Oh, there's an edit in there.
Yeah, I threw it in my own little The Cogerts have 2 adult children who they are now more than happy to brag about. Max is a professional drummer and works for the Jazz Angels. He lives with his partner, Clarita, in Long Beach. Julie lives in San Francisco and is an account executive at a public relations firm. 20 years ago, Kendra and Barry participated in the Long Beach Jewish Federation's Young Leadership Development Program, and subsequently Barry served on the Federation board and received the Nuremberger Young Leadership Award. And Kendra served on the Temple Israel board and our executive committee. Barry and Kendra each cultivated careers as performers, but rarely worked together until they began bringing their music to Temple Israel. In addition to performing, they are both drawn to inspire others through music education. Barry founded the Jazz Angels, and Kendra founded Music Together at the beach and served as Temple Israel's youth choir director for 15 years. And of course, they also teach private music lessons now via Zoom. Change soon as well. Welcome, Barry and Kendra. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So how are you guys? How has the pandemic been treating you? How has this transition been for your lives the last couple of months?
I go first?
Yeah, you go first, and I have something to follow up with.
Okay. we're sort of humming along right now, but it was a rough go for a little bit there. Things, you can't really socially distance in a Music Together class.
I was going to say that.
Right, as you both know. And, I had taken some measures to make sure that I had extra instruments so that I could make sure that, so if I was teaching 3 classes back to back, that I had 3 sets of instruments for those classes. And then rather than simply cleaning the instruments that went in kids' mouths, everything had to be cleaned, right? Anything that got touched. But that lasted about 4 days. And then And then the concept of social distancing came about, started to become more public. And so that's when I closed down, and I just kind of shut down for a couple of weeks to figure out what I was going to do. Music Together, I'm a licensee, so I have to follow the licensing guidelines, and they did not allow remote teaching, only in-person teaching. So then they had to change their licensing guidelines as well. And they provided us with tons of support. And we figured out how to, I say we, Barry doesn't teach Music Together, but I could not have done this without him. We figured out how to, broadcast from home. We basically turned our house into a series of sound stages. So we have sound stage 1, where Barry teaches Jazz Angels, and sound stage 2, which is where our piano is, where we teach our private lessons, and sound stage 3, which is where we are right now, where I teach my classes. It's usually lit a little bit differently. And then what we call sound stage 4, we rarely use, which is our back patio. And
that's where the rap party is.
So it's good that we're empty nesters, because we really have taken over the house.
Everybody's room becomes
yeah. And so there's and it's, our house has kind of an open floor plan, so there's really no getting around the fact that there's sound stages throughout the house. But it's going, it's going, business is not what it used to be. I don't have nearly as many people enrolled, but for those that do still want to do it, we figured out a way to make it work. Instead of 1 45-minute class a week, it's 2 20 to 30-minute classes a week, because attention span is not the same when you're
right, especially you're working with such young kids.
They're young, yeah.
For those of you at home, I know Sharon, I think all of Sharon's kids went through Music Together. I know for proud graduates. I mean, I think the Music Together soundtracks are embedded in our memories. All the songs and that we were playing in the cars over and over again to keep our kids smiling and happy and singing. But yeah, to work with that really young child, parents.
Right. And Music Together was never supposed to be a performance, right? It's always like, I always had to sort of dial my energy back to make sure that I left space for the parents and the kids to bring their energy in. But when I'm via Zoom, it's really different. It's even though I can see on the screen that they're engaging, they're doing the things that I'm doing, I feel like I have to put out a lot more energy. I have to be a little bit more of a performance.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys able to work at the same time?
No,
at the house?
Yeah, we have like a fine-tuned calendar, so my class will end and his will start.
It's called the Keynote Studios schedule.
For those of you that don't know, we happen to live on Keynote Street. And so we have Keynote Studios now. And it's quite the schedule that it's a jigsaw puzzle.
I mean, really we can work at the same time, but if she's teaching, I'm not teaching. I'm doing other work, and then I know, okay, 5 o'clock, boom, her thing goes off, mine goes on, and we do that. And anyway, you can finish, and then
that's about that. That's about it.
I was just gonna say, we had when all this happened, we had to try all these scenarios out to make everything work. And for me and Jazz Angels, February was our biggest month ever. We had just embarked on like 3 pilot programs in Long Beach schools, in addition to 5 schools in Paramount. And our studio session was going bonkers. And we had this little systems planned out for everyone to come in and do their work. So I wouldn't have to do it all. It was really a great system, but we were all kind of using the same computer. And then all of a sudden, well, guess what? That computer's at my house and no one can come there. So during those first couple of weeks, we're scrambling around trying to do all these things. And our cat, who never saw me during the day, is going like, what are you guys doing here, man?
We've commented on that before, that I know Sharon and I, like, our dogs are the happiest they've ever been, just because So,
yeah.
Cats don't want your attention. You know, they're probably pissed off, but the dogs are really happy that.
My dog is, you can't see him, but he's about 6 feet away from me right now.
No, the cat was not happy that we were here all the time. And singing. She doesn't like it when I sing either.
And it took, I mean, you know, so Kendra had this nationwide support group of trying to do it. And this was me and my friends, and I'm getting input from other educators and my friends that are teachers in schools about what to do. And anyway, we kind of devised our own plan, and we had to go through a few series of things to find out what works and what doesn't work. Now that we're in like our third session of doing this, things are pretty streamlined. And I mean, we lost all of our school programs, but I looked in the enrollment for our studio session was actually about the same last year as it is this year.
That's great.
And because what we can do is, like, we have someone in Canada that's in our class.
Mm-hmm.
You can give lessons to anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have people from Portland that are gonna be chiming in our class, and things like that. So that's an advantage, you know. And then you have to tailor your teaching a little differently for all of that. So, but it was. We had those first couple of weeks, man, it was really rough. We're just trying to figure out what to do. And then of course, this doesn't work. And then you set everything up. And of course, oh man, we didn't get the mic set up on this one right. And then blah, blah, blah. So anyway.
Well, kudos to you guys. You know, I think the whole music and performing arts industry, you know, it's presented a real conundrum for people, because everyone knows the value of music and performing arts and being creative during these difficult times, and yet how do we do it, right? And it has to be done so differently.
Yeah. Making it for us to make it interactive, to where you could engage a group of 4 or 5 people all together, you know, little by little, a few measures at a time, playing, so they all are learning, was really challenging. And recently we have it pretty well dialed in. I was saying,
modest.
Well, before we went live on the season finale today, folks, I was talking with Eric, saying like, okay, we're gonna get this dialed in perfectly, and then we will never use it again, because really, it'll all be over, you know.
Well, when you think about music and Zoom, and how in the world would you do a band rehearsal, what Barry has come up with collaboratively with his staff of the Jazz Angels is really quite remarkable. So
it's pretty cool. We could do it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very innovative. And luckily, I was going to say, luckily, as we were going through this process of figuring out how are we going to do this, you know, we would each have our emotional struggles, but fortunately not on the same day. So I would melt down one day, and
then
that's part of your calendaring, right?
Okay, so the day you can flip out, I'm flipping out on Tuesday.
This is my day to flip out.
So, you know, it's interesting, right? About as far as how relationships are also have been tested during this time, where, you know, here you are where you would be out and you would be doing your own thing, and then you could come together at a certain time during the day and collaborate. Now having to coordinate schedules and you know, deal with the cat and not get on each other's nerves. It's interesting how this time has challenged and really made us aware of our relationships, and actually in a lot of ways, and I think for many of us, appreciate our partner in many ways, and the fact that you can give each other the slack that you need to be able to function differently. So
yeah, but we do get to walk home for lunch, so it's kind of nice. You know, we got that.
We eat 3 meals a day together now.
Can you, I just don't know, I know a lot of people who are watching are actually probably friends of yours, they've connected. Can you also just describe a little bit, Barry, about what Jazz Angels is, and sort of, and maybe how it started and then what it turned into? Because it seems I think it's different than what originally I thought it was. And it seems like it keeps growing.
Right, it really changed. So Jazz Angels is an organization where we empower young musicians and we preserve jazz. And we started it 15 years ago because me and my co-founder Mark Barnes would be talking about how we grew up, and especially Mark, where he lived in Missouri. Any band like the Count Basie band and the Duke Ellington band, they would just travel through his little town and they would play in his high school gym, you know. And so he met these people and talked to them, and we started talking about how could we do something like that. And so I said, well, you know what, if we could work this out to have professionals sit in with people. And it was, originally we thought middle school, because that's kind of a big area when you're like beginning to be molded, you know, and you get really it's hard for other influences have an impact on you, you know, and so we figured, okay, if we get these people and they feel good about themselves, and they could not only be good musicians by the time they get to school, they could be really good people, you know, and they could learn how to talk and not be afraid to speak with adults or to speak their mind or whatever. And the whole thing about jazz is realizing if you make a mistake, it's okay, you know, it's not the end of the world. And then, so
people may not even know, right? If you're good, you can make it where you don't even know it was a mistake. Right?
Yeah, you lay in. And that's what I tell people. I say, you know, everybody makes mistakes. It's just those with more experience get back on so fast you didn't even hear what happened, you know. And what started to morph after we did this, okay, well, I'll just backtrack for a second. I worked for this other organization, and my boss there convinced me to write a grant for the Arts Council for Long Beach. And I said, good, I'll take the money and we'll do something with the organization. And she goes, no, you do what you want to do. So I wrote this grant for this program that kind of like we talked about. Then I wound up leaving the organization, and about 2 days later, I got the phone call that I got this grant. And so we wrangled together a group of 10 people. Many were Temple members at the time, and they were all in middle school, and they're going, what? And so I got my buddy Albert to come in, and we rehearsed. We had 8 rehearsals, and then I got us a gig playing at Tincture's summer concert. And that was the end, you know? And so after the gig, I'm going, thanks guys, that's it, it's all over. And I'll never forget, it was Cheryl and Jeff Stewart's son, Brett Stewart, who was in 7th grade. And he looked at me and he goes, well, when's the next rehearsal, man? When's the next gig? What are we gonna do? So we started this thing. We became a nonprofit and one band, and it kind of grew to 2 or 3. And then we found out later on that the musicians in our program were becoming fearless in other things in school, and they were becoming leaders with their other activities. And one guy got a really good grade on an English paper, putting together a group, and the teacher asked the parents, wow, he must have learned it from you. And his parents asked him, where'd you learn it from? And he goes, oh, I learned it from watching Barry and Albert in rehearsal at Jazz Angels, you know, because we take everyone through from the beginning of it to the end. You know, what are the jokes going to be? How are we going to put the show together? How do we get these songs? And so we've found that we're empowering all these people. And as it grows and we get more people involved, there's all kinds of other neat opportunities. I mean, someone like Max Cass, for instance, was in our program in middle school, and you know, they get to high school. Well, they don't want to leave the program. They're having a good time, and we play a lot of now virtually, but in live, played all kinds of clubs around town that they would never get a chance to play, and so he stayed all through high school, and then he's in college now, and his professor was talking about doing something, and so he reached out to me and connected me with his professor. He goes, oh, this would be a really cool thing for Jazz Angels. Just want you to know. So it's pretty neat how it's grown like that. And, you know, as a person who decided in their 20s to be a musician, now I'm dealing with running a nonprofit and all of that that's involved. And I know Sharon and Eric know a lot about that. But I never knew that I would have to know all of that I know about about all these components about being a nonprofit organization. but when it's all said and done, the music's great, and the children of the program have a good time. The parents realize what they're getting is so unique and and really valuable, and it goes beyond you know, a 10-week session into impacting all components of their life.
That's really great. It's great. Kendra, I know you mentioned earlier how Barry helped you get things set up, and I know that you're also very involved with Jazz Angels. How much would you say that your work overlaps with one another?
It varies. It varies. I think Barry has a really strong board and also a strong staff, and they get, once in a while he runs something by me, or when he's doing his live events, like his Facebook live events, I'm usually just off camera, you know, in those things. Is it, you know how this is. It takes more than one person to manage all the different elements. But in the beginning, I was on the board when he first launched Jazz Angels. I was on the inaugural board, I suppose you would say. I was pretty involved initially, but I haven't been super involved.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll say, hey, will you, you know, I call her the grammar police. So I run it by the grammar police to see if what I'm talking about makes sense. So
yeah, he'll ask me to read something, edit something. But that happens, you know, maybe once a week or something like that.
Do you have any graduates from Music Together that are now in Jazz Angels?
Currently, yes. We were just talking about those. Okay, Maria Flanagan.
Oh yeah. Kate Flanagan, yeah.
Well, and of course Max Cass, and
there were a lot.
I know there are others. I know there's quite a few.
There's Jonas. Anyway, there's quite a few, and we didn't set it out to be that way. And actually, the other component of my life is now diminishing a little bit, but a few years ago it was really big, was my piano teaching business. And so it's like people would take Music Together, and then they would take piano lessons from me, and then they would be in Jazz Angels.
So that's a good feeder into,
we never thought that, that was never by design or whatever. It's like, but realize that Kendra goes, oh my God, I know that person when they were a toddler,
Yeah, I'll go to
here they are 15 playing the saxophone or something.
They don't remember me. Their parents remember me. But the kids that take my program, they don't have, they're in my program when they're 2 and 3 years old. So unless we've continued a relationship, they don't necessarily remember me.
I talk to my kids about this all the time at Music Together, like because it's so ingrained in my memory, like years and years of being there with you. It's just like, it's so accessible. And my kids, they obviously love you and know you, but they don't have the clearest memory of the class. And I'm just like,
isn't that weird?
How can you not? Like, it was so essential to our family for all those years.
Right. Well, I love to dig into the neuroscience of music, but we store our memories with music, right? So, when you hear whatever was the most popular song played at your high school dances, right? You hear that song and you're right back there. You're in your dress and you can smell the gym. And so sometimes when kids say, when their moms say, you remember Miss Kendra? And I'm like, no, they don't. But if I say, hello, everybody, then they kind of go, I think I know that song, But
Sadie is taking first year Spanish right now at Millikan. And so she was excited. She was, learning some of the body parts. And I was like, Don Alfredo baila. She's like, Deva, I learned that. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
You knew that when you were 1.
All the Spanish I know from Music Together songs. And I have this very specific memory. I keep talking about Max Cass like he's my own kid. I have this very specific memory of Max Cass in a Music Together class at the JCC. And of course, he has no recollection of that. So, and Lynn probably doesn't either because she has so many memories.
Nancy Levy is watching and she says that Dana stood up for the first time in Music Together.
Oh yeah. Oh. That's one of the fun things that will happen,
You're really watching the development of the kids.
Yeah.
So, you said, so you guys were in college together, and sort of met in the jazz class. Then was your passion, Kendra, always more on the performance end? And that's okay.
Yeah, that was fully my intention was to perform, and I did quite a bit, and I dialed it back when I had young kids, because we were both working nights and weekends, and we didn't have family around to help with childcare, and childcare for those, I need somebody to watch my kids from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. That's
what?
Yeah. So it just became, every time I'd get a call for a gig, I would have this anxiety about, who's going to watch my kid? So I just stopped pursuing that work. And actually got into teaching music together because I was looking for a music together class. I knew of the program, and I called their 800 number, That's how long ago it was. Called their 800 number to ask where the closest music together class was. And, they are headquartered in New Jersey. No idea of Southern California geography. So she said, well, we have a class in Pasadena.
It's not really close.
How about North Hollywood? I said, no, I don't think so. And then she just kept me on the phone. This is kind of a remarkable, when I look back on it, it's like, what really happened there? She just kept me on the phone and kept talking to me about it and asking me questions about me and my musical background and blah, 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 blah. And then she said, we have a teacher training next weekend in Redondo Beach. And would you like to sign up for that? And I was like, I would. It was like, I had no intention of starting a business, but here I am.
That's great.
It sounded kind of meant to be. It was,
yeah, kind of weird, huh? Yeah. Anyway.
And then how were you tapped for, so then you were both involved in the Jewish leadership, the Young Leaders program here?
I think,
so how did it evolve into the Jewish community?
I
I
think it was Wayne.
No, I think it was Rabbi Leibson. Rabbi Leibson saw something that, because he kept tapping us for different types of leadership things. So I think he saw something that we were not recognizing. So, and I remember, but the class was taught by Wayne and Joanne.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And I think Lynn and Jonathan also. And yeah. And so I think Joanne was the one that called, and I was like, young leadership, I'm 40, right? It was a while ago. And she said, in the Jewish community, that's considered young. I said,
okay then.
Yeah, and that was I don't know the words to use to describe that program, but that was sort of an enlightening, very educational program where they just took us step by step through all the different organizations, Jewish organizations, philanthropic organizations, and what they do. And
you met these people who are leaders in the city and everything, and you get to see what they do and how they do it and why they do it. And it was just really, really an interesting thing. And I mean, we both got really involved after that. And just the thing about being old, when I won the Neuberger Young Leadership Award, talking with Sharon Koenigsberg, and she called me up, she goes, okay, you're a candidate or something for it. And I went, really? I go, I'm not too old. She goes, you have 1 foot still in.
It was like
still over the line. You just have one. We got to get this in. So, so for me, it was incredible. And once I was on the Federation board, so many people were so understanding of my lack of knowledge and how juvenile I was in all this, and so willing to explain. I mean, I used to just think all over the place, you know. Judy Lenser, Deborah Goldfarb, Sherry Nimmer, they would all say these little things to me from time and time again that were just so nurturing. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, nice. Nice. I mean, we know that it's actually hard to imagine our Jewish community without the two of you in it. If you were reflecting back on some of the highlights of your involvement at Temple Israel in particular, what would be some of those favorite memories?
For me or for you?
Both
I
of
have
you.
some really good ones. Not so good ones, but I have some good ones.
Well, you first.
I think so. Some of the okay, I have a couple. Okay. One is when Sharon asked me to direct the Perm spiel, and we put together the spiel, and I think the second or third one we were able to get like a good band, and we did this Beatles spiel, and we got some like lights dialed in. We got it looking more like a show kind of thing. So that was really, it was just really fun. Actually, all of those were fun. From the very first one where we all wore bathrobes because it was our robes, and I had David played piano on that, and
that was like the opera one or something.
Yeah, that was the night at the opera.
One.
Yeah, that was. Anyway, they were all fun, and then afterwards, you know, since I got busy and everything happened, so I'm not able to do it that much. And both Mark Beiser and Jonathan Casco look going like, I can't believe you did both of our jobs one time while playing bass on the thing. But it was really fun. I mean, a ton of work, and my kids kept telling me not to do it, but it was a lot of fun, a lot of work. And then I think the other thing that was more recently that was really cool, musically satisfying for me, was at I think the last High Holy Day service where you had with the youth choir, and I made an age appropriate version of Kol Nidre to play for the kids, and I played it with Mark Dickey on piano, and I thought that
on your bass.
Yeah, I played it on my bass because I play the cello, and bass players always say it sounds better on the bass than the cello anyway. Don't tell.
Can I tell you, Barry, that was actually for musically here at the Temple, that was actually one of the more memorable things for me as well, hearing you play the bass on Kol Nidre.
Yeah, it was really neat. And I mean, obviously you always wish you had more time to prepare for it or whatever, because we kind of worked out the arrangement without too much rehearsal. But it was a really neat experience. I could call it back in my head playing with it, and it was just that was a cool thing. So those are, other than the spirituality and God Shabbat and all the other music and fun we've had with the Adventure in the Park things and all that, those are two of the many highlights.
Wonderful.
Now you go.
It's pretty hard to pick.
Where do you start?
What's that?
So where do you start?
I know. I was thinking, the first thing that popped in my head was just, in general, the experience of conducting the youth choir, because I would have a lot of those kids for 3 or 4 years. And so I just really got to know them. I really developed pretty deep relationships with them through music and longevity. And that was really a very fulfilling experience. Another thing that popped into my head was Rabbi Moskowitz's installation, and I got to offer him a blessing. It's like, okay, now I'm going to give the rabbi a blessing. That was kind of, and being able to introduce Sharon when she was acknowledged for her years of service at our gala. That was also an honor. I know there are so many things.
Because the God Shabbat thing is a pretty
the God Shabbat thing,
that's pretty powerful.
And the first time that I was invited to lead God Shabbat, I remember being so nervous. And Rabbi Shore was on maternity leave. She was on bed rest, I think, and couldn't do it unexpectedly. And so I led it with Rabbi Leibson and the band. Yeah, so that was in the old temple. On the
so that's a bit of history that I would, so I was actually curious, and we probably don't even have time to fully get into it, but sort of what was the evolution of God Shabbat? So Barry, there was music before with that, and it was done with Rabbi Leibson and Rebecca Shore, and then it evolved into what now is that?
Yeah. So Deb and Rob had this idea to do this service, and talked to Rabbi Shore about it, I think, or Rabbi Leibson, something in those. Yeah, it was pre-Eric days, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely pre-me. Yeah, so
you can imagine that.
A couple of executive directors before that. Yeah.
And then we formulated a band, and we kind of got it worked out, and Rabbi Leibson played, and there were a couple times when Cantor Finley also played with us.
Accordion.
He played accordion with us.
Of course.
And because he goes, I sing all the time. I want to play accordion. So we did that a couple times, and then Rebecca had to stay at home, and I always say, hey, I know a good singer. So we got Kendra. We rehearsed. The band changed a little bit to get the chemistry. What it is.
Not because of me.
Not because of her. It just evolved.
You're a diva. You came in. You said everything needs to change.
Yeah. And then I think even Rabbi Leibson started playing less guitar on that, and then obviously left Rabbi Moskowitz, and then it morphed just a little bit more into what it is, what it was before that pandemic, and then what will be. It's there's some cool things in the works for the future. That's the teaser, I guess.
We'll leave it there.
It's amazing to think that God Shabbat's been around. It's like 18 years or something like that.
I think it was 20, something, maybe 18.
Yeah, I think maybe I've been doing it for 18 years. I don't know.
I can't believe it. That is a total head shaker.
Yeah, right. There's one other thing that I did that I almost forgot about, that predates both of you, which was that when we were brand new members, and Rabbi Lisa asked me to collaborate with Susanna Levitt and Wendy Dolan on a musical about Jewish heroes.
Yes.
They want to involve the 5th through 10th graders to keep them engaged. And it was, so I have these friendships with all these kids, all these adults now that are like, Elizabeth Slavitt was in it, and Eli and Lily Begler were in it. And
that's so cool. I remember hearing about it, and at one point I reached out to the director. She was from San Diego, I think, or not the director, the writer, and to try and see if we could, reprise that show, but it never played out. I think there are some of those old props and costumes that are still at the,
hidden in our basement somewhere. We could,
What's that?
No, hidden in our. She said that there's some old props or things somewhere. So
in the basement.
And that show provided such an opportunity for Julie, who is really young. Oh. She grew up being involved, not in the show, but going there and being there. So she was so comfortable being at Temple all the time.
Yeah, both Max and Julie. So Max was in Torah school, and Julie was still in diapers.
She was little. I was running around. And
so I hired. Okay, no, I'm drawing a blank on the names. I can picture them.
Well, Lena was there for a little.
No, it was Michelle. Okay, I'm going to think of the name. But anyway, she would watch the kids at the temple, and while I was running the rehearsals. Michelle Merrick.
Michelle Merrick, yeah. Mark's and Diane's daughter,
yeah. Yep. So those were the people. Those are the people we first met when we came to Temple Israel. Was Susanna Levitt, Wendy Dolan, the Merricks.
It's really nice.
We got thrown into that. So yeah, people that we may not have otherwise known because the kids were in different demographic, right?
It shows you what a crossover music is, right? And how brilliant.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pretty generationless form.
Yeah.
Right. So it really exposes you and then your, you know, like you said, Kendra, just being able to see kids or both of you together. Kids have started for music together, then going into piano lessons, and then, you know, so you're really seeing generations of families, you know, grow up and being such a part and influence in their lives. So that's
for me, you know, Barry and Kendra are like, there's such an overlap between the personal and professional. We've, you know, with our kids' involvement with Barry and Kendra's programs and our relationships that we've been able to develop over the years, a little bit of a lump in my throat, I will say, as I think back to a lot of those memories that we've shared together. Kendra, I'm just picturing you in like the Lion King spiel, the Purim spiel. That was pretty funny. That was pretty early on.
A good one, man.
Old memories.
With the little stuffed dolls.
Yeah, we had stuffed animals on our heads and stuff.
Are there pictures of that? I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there are pictures.
Well,
I want to see the video.
Oh, you would love it, Eric. You would love it, Eric, being a theater guy. It's a good one. We did good on that.
It's like Barry. The thing about the Purim spiel when Barry was directing is he never wanted to give me a big part, right? Which is fine. I have lots of opportunities to sing, and so I would have a little cameo, or I'd be a background singer or something. And so in that one, he said, "I want you to do this part." Right? And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And so it
was the opening scene from Lion King.
You know,
those who don't know.
like that. So, and you kind of have to do it 100% or not at all. So it was kind of funny. Yeah. So you'll have to see that. And then the cast members marched down the 2 aisles, you know, with stuffed animals on their heads.
Just like Lion King.
It was just like Lion King. It was absurd.
Maybe this year, because we are continuing, we'll continue to be virtual. Maybe we'll be able to put together a video montage.
Oh, spiels from the past.
Spiels from the past. So that would be an interesting kind of thing to walk people through.
That's a good
idea. That would be a fun little the best of or whatever, little clips. That's a cool idea.
All right. See, these kind of conversations, they inspire creativity and thought.
Lauren Kiriko says she has photos of, I guess she's talking about the Lion King one. So yes.
Yeah.
Sharon, do we have time to take questions from people?
I know it's 5 o'clock. I don't know. I'm watching some of the questions. There was a question from Joanne Levy a little bit about some of the other guys in the band. I know that, I mean, we don't talk about all their backgrounds, but I do know that you guys have had some long-term relationships and friendships with some of the band members.
Oh yeah, for years. We've known Ken Tressiter.
Well, I've known Ken Tressiter since community college in Aptos. And then we met again.
So in 82, 83.
1981 probably for me, and then 83 at Cal State Long Beach.
And Randy, the drummer, I worked with in the 90s, playing at, anyway, by the Queen Mary, that restaurant there, we met and became friends. And then Steve Hummel, I don't know when I met Steve, but I've known him a long time, many, many years. I like to use Steve on a lot of different recordings because he's an adaptable musician. I could just say, yeah, play something right there. And he goes, oh, okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think as Sharon and I are doing these conversations more, in some ways they're really amazing. In some ways they're so unsatisfying because by the time we get into the meat of it, we really start talking and I'm inspired and have more questions to ask. We need to end for Shabbat or for whatever else is going on next. But we do typically end. I think you've watched the show before, so we have a series of questions that we ask, inspired by the show The Actors Studio, where James Lipton would ask his guests a series of just free thought questions that come to your mind to answer. So it'll be interesting with two of you to see how it's going to work. We'll just see how it goes. So if you're up for the questions, here we go, and just answer as it comes to your mind. So the first one is, what is your favorite word?
You go first.
Well, lately, my favorite word is malarkey. You take that for what it's worth.
Okay, my favorite word is cool.
Cool.
And what's your least favorite word?
Me first or you first?
Whatever. You got one? I'll go because he's thinking. I like language and I like to find the perfect word for the right setting, for the description and all that. So there's not really words I don't like, but a word that I rarely use is impossible.
Okay, and I'll say hate is a word I don't like.
As musicians, this one, what sound or noise do you love?
The bass.
The bass.
See, that's good.
Arco bass on the really low strings. Arco is with the bow.
Not the gas station.
Not the gas station.
It's a good thing she didn't say cello.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could have that one could have set you up for some real trouble.
Yeah, that could have gone a different
You
direction.
answered together at the same time, so that was brilliant. So good. So next, what sound or noise do you hate?
Feedback.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I know there are sounds that annoy me. Can't think of anything right now. Sorry.
Okay. What profession other than the one that you do would you like to attempt?
Something with benefits package and paid vacation.
I never thought about that.
I have no idea. I think, okay, this is going to sound really random, and would not have a benefits package or paid vacation, but a fashion designer, which is bizarre because I'm so lazy about my own fashion. But before I started singing, which I didn't really start singing until late in high school, I used to sew a lot. I mean, even while I was singing, but I used to sew most of my own clothes, and I have a real great appreciation for, workmanship and beautiful fabrics and an exquisite fit. But
That's
there's
really
no benefits package, so forget
it. And thinking about that, my two things are pretty much on either side of the spectrum. And then as Kendra was talking, I was thinking, my mom used to say that I would say when I was a kid, I wanted to be a garbage man or a doctor. But I think realistically and equally far away from each other, for me would be a politician or involved in construction.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
It's not a game show host.
No, my parents wanted me to be a game show host, but I didn't want to do that.
Well, you already have the curtain. You have the curtain.
No, we got the thing. Believe me, man, we talk about it all the time. We talk about doing a hair and makeup and wardrobe. Here's the after party.
I know we didn't talk about why the curtain's there, but
yeah,
maybe another time.
I'm assuming it's part of your sound stages. It separates out.
Yeah, because I needed to.
It's in our dining room.
My classes from here, and the wall is red and doesn't look good on camera, so I put up green curtains.
There you go. It works. Next question is, what profession would you absolutely not like to do? What's not for you?
Sales.
Oh, sales.
I was a salesman, and different things, not my bag.
I'll tell you, people that are good at it and love it, they should do it.
They do,
Yeah, it's just a testament to there's something for everybody, right?
Right.
But as musicians, we're constantly selling ourselves, which is kind of a weird thing. But yeah.
But it's different selling a.
It's a different when you're a salesman for like a company, or even if you're, you know, a real estate salesman or something. It's not my thing. I don't want to do it.
That's the same reason I know I got into nonprofit management as opposed to for-profit management.
Right.
What I could see myself, and what's, you know, it's a lot different working, doing something that you love and that speaks to you. So.
Right.
Last question then. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Nice work.
So glad you're here.
And that's a wrap. Right?
See you at the wrap party.
Season finale, folks. Anything goes. Anything
Eric, I just think you should like fall off your chair or something.
Yeah, right. Make a loud bang, and then. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kendra and Barry, for joining us for our season finale, our fall finale of Shabbat Anything Goes. It was really.
We were honored to be asked.
Yeah.
It was so fun chatting with you guys, and I know our audience loved it too. And I would just say to everybody, you know, the goal of this show is really for people to get to know one another better. So when we do eventually come back together, to be able to say, hey, I, you know, really enjoyed that program. I love getting to know you, and let's continue the conversation. And frankly, you don't have to wait till we get back together. You may want to just, you know, pick up the phone or drop Barry and Kendra an email to continue the conversation. So thank you both so much for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful Shabbat and weekend ahead.
Thank you. You as well.
Shabbat
Really good to
shalom.
see you both also. So thank you.
Thanks you guys. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Thanks for
Shabbat
joining
shalom, everyone.
us.
We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.